the perception of justice from a third person's view may not be always correct. See, the moment there is a trigger of a fight, or whenever you are emotionally attacked, amygdala is hijacked. In the sense, it takes only 1/100th of a second for amygdala to get affected. And the moment amygdala is hijacked or the amygdala is affected, then you don't have reasons. You don't have logic.
To guide us on this journey of deeper thought and understanding, we are deeply honored to welcome someone who has made peace his life's mission, Mr. Anil Xavier. A global expert in mediation, a quiet warrior for justice, a man who believes in dialogue over argument. You've taught leaders, judges, lawyers, and communities to choose listening over shouting, empathy over ego, dialogue over destruction. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Anil Xavier, President of the Indian Institute of Arbitration and Mediation, a visionary who has helped the world resolve conflicts not through force, but through human connection. Let's immerse into a fire chat with Mr. Anil Xavier. Over to you.
How would you define mediation?
Actually, it's turning away from complication to simplicity. See, when you said to make things complicated, or see, law actually makes life complicated. And lawyers help them to do it. In the sense, law is not that simple for everybody to understand. And it is made in that way because there is an entire group of people who deals with law. And even though we say, suppose somebody does a mistake and immediately you say, I didn't know about it, or I didn't know that there was a law like that. Then you say, everybody is expected to know law. But then the basic idea is nobody is expected to know law. Even lawyers are not expected to know law because there are so much of statutes, so much of law books. It's impossible for anybody to know law entirely. So to make things simple, go to the basics. That is the basic way how you communicate with people, how you resolve disputes, how you make friends. So mediation is just a bridge to make friends. Nothing more than that.
Right. So if we begin, was it always an area of your interest when it comes to law and mediation? Where did it all begin?
Actually, when I was at that time it was not +2, it was pre-degree. It was way back, much before all of you were born. I never liked law because my father was a judge. So I did not want to become a lawyer. So whoever asked me what you would like to become, my last choice would be lawyer. But then I wanted to become a pilot. Since I was as the only son, my mother never agreed for it. And she wanted me to become a doctor. So I thought then, if I'm not going to become a pilot, I'm not going to become a doctor as well. Then rather, I will choose my last option to become a lawyer. So I thought, see, one thing is there. I always liked law because, see, if you look at sounds, see, animals can make sound. And most of the sounds are an expression of pain or pleasure. But humans doesn't make sound, they use language. And language is not an expression of pain or pleasure. It is intended to analyze things, speak out things, speak out what is good or bad, point out what is just or what is unjust. So I found that law is a good profession where you can be the voice of people who can't raise their voice. So I chose law. I thought this will be a good tool for me to advance justice. So I started my career as a lawyer in 1990. In 3 years' time, I understood it is impossible to create justice or make justice by continuing in this field. Because adjudication or litigation or any sort of dispute resolution through adjudicatory mechanisms can never bring justice. Maybe I can tell a small story sort of thing, because see, justice, or what we think as this is right or this is wrong, what you have shown in your picture. See, there is nothing called right and wrong. There is nothing called good and evil, because today's right can be tomorrow's wrong. See, many laws that we had in our earlier society, we thought it is not right and we changed it. So at that point of time, that was the law, that was the right thing to do. So for example, I'll just tell you a story about how people perceive, because you said about perception. See, justice is all about perception. See, there were two friends who were traveling. It's an old story. So they ended up in a what you call satram, or a resting place at the night, and they were about to rest. So before that, they were about to have their food. So one person had 3 chapatis, and second person had 5 chapatis. So they opened their packets and they were about to eat. And suddenly a traveler came in. He said, "See, I'm too hungry. Can you share some food with me? I can give you any amount of money for this." So they said, no, we don't sell food. We can share, there's no problem, because we don't take money for food. So they agreed to share. Then there were 8 chapatis, 3 people. How do you share it? So then this traveler suggested, we'll tear each chapati into 3 pieces, so that there will be 24 pieces altogether, so that we'll have 8 pieces each. So it's a equitable distribution. Fine, they had 8 pieces each. They slept. In the morning, when these 2 friends got up, they found that the third person is missing. He had already left. But then he put 8 gold coins there as a token of gratitude. So this person who had brought 3 chapatis said, "See how benevolent he is. See, he has given us 8 coins. So we'll share 4 each." That seems to be pretty well, because 2 people, they shared the food. So 8 sovereigns were given, so 4 each. The person with 5 said, no, I had brought 5. You brought only 3. So I should be getting 5 and you should be getting 3. So that naturally a dispute started. Then they could not solve it. So they went to the king. The king heard the matter. Ultimately, the king gave the verdict. He said, 1 sovereign to the person who has who had 3 chapatis, and 7 to the person who had 5 chapatis. Both of them felt this is an unreasonable judgment, because see, I had 3, he had 5, so 5 or 3 or 4 or 4. Where is the question? What is the logic in 1 and 7? Then the king said, see, totally there were 24 pieces. You ate 8 pieces each. Out of your 3 chapatis, you had 9 pieces. You ate 8 out of it. You gave only 1 to that person. The person with 5 chapatis had 15 pieces. He ate 8, he gave 7. So you are entitled to 7 and he is entitled to only 1. So that is also logic. So what I mean to say is, justice is a perception that each person carries and each person interprets in different manner. So there is nothing called constant justice. So anything that is imposed on you, anything that a third person says that this is justice, you may not feel that it is justice. But actually speaking, when you venture into this profession of negotiator, because see, when you talk about diplomats or when you talk about negotiation, see, it contains 2 aspects. One is it has got a science inside it, because every conversation that you do in a negotiation or in a mediation is based on science, and it's also coupled with a portion of art. So only if you mix the science and the art in the proportionate manner, you can actually control a negotiation. And the art of negotiation, see, earlier you said about the power of 2 people. See, it's very easy for a judge or for an arbitrator to give any decision, because he has a power to decide. But to convince a person that what I'm saying you should accept, or I'm trying to facilitate you to take a decision, is a very, very difficult thing, because you don't have the power to impose anything on that person. And one of the wrong method that we always use in negotiation is whenever we negotiate with friends, let us say 2 friends want to go for a movie, and one person said we'll go for this movie, other person said we'll go for that movie. in the way in which we negotiate, always we try to put our position very hard on the other side. See, actually what we want our opinion to be accepted by the other side. So that means that person should accept our view. So should we make that decision making of that person to accept our view harder or easier? So we should help the other person to accept our view in a much better manner, rather than pushing him to accept that.
So in your line of work, you deal with a lot of people who argue, even leaders, even judges, even advocates. What's the secret sauce of making two people sit down and talk? If they're not really ready to do it, how do we actually get them the first step?
First of all, before that, you should understand what you mean by, because most of the people sit for a dispute, to solve a dispute. So you should understand what a dispute is. So putting it simpler, I can illustrate it as like a triangle. See, in a triangle there will be three sides. And one side has got the problem, one side has got the process, and one side has got the people. So if you look at one side, that's a problem. That is the substance or subject matter of dispute that is between both of the parties. And one is the process. Process is how you deal with that dispute. Third is the people. People issue means the emotional packages or baggages that a person carry because of that dispute. It can be hurt feeling, it can be ego, it can be pride, many things. See, in any dispute resolution mechanism, if you go to a police station or you go to a court, you go to any side, the only thing that is addressed is the problem side. Nobody addresses on the people side or nobody addresses on the process side. It's only the problem that is addressed. See, no problem can be addressed before making the person comfortable on his people side. So, if anybody comes for a negotiation or mediation before us, we don't go directly into the problem at all. We make the person comfortable. We understand what is the emotion that is behind him. Suppose it's a very egoistic person. Let us take that example. See, normally what I say is, thank you for coming for mediation. It's a method normally very mature people take. So he has to maintain that. So because I have already given him the credit of being a very mature person who has opted for mediation. Normally people go to court. So you have opted mediation because you're a mature person who is able to control or take control of your dispute and take a decision by yourself. So then naturally that person will have to maintain that status. He'll have to sit quietly, or he'll have to listen, or he'll have to continue as a mature person. So you take that ego into consideration. And of course we have many techniques like, see, even in my office we have different posters behind. So indirectly that also conveys many messages. So we change the posters regularly based on the type of people who are coming there.
That's really true, sir. It is better to address the emotion and the people than address the problem. So that's a huge message there. So even in schools we argue over lunch, sports, or even who gets to sit with whom. What advice would you give to kids like us to solve fights at our level?
See, you can never imagine a world where there is no fights and disputes. It has to be there. Otherwise, see, you look at what you call angiogram or something. See, only if there is a arrow that goes up and down, that means there is life. If it is still, that means you are dead. So, see, normally people used to say, suppose you have a very successful couple, and at their 50th anniversary, you ask them what was the secret of your life. They will say, we never had a dispute. It's absolute false. Because if they never had a dispute, that means they never lived. Or they should be mentally retarded. Because a normal human being with a basic intellect will fight. Or will have difference of opinion. See, we ourselves, forget about interaction with a third person or a second person. See, our view 5 years back or 2 years back is changed now. So we ourselves fight within us. So there is no problem in fighting. The issue is how you handle it. So if children fight, there's absolutely no problem. But see, in many schools now there are certain mechanisms that are involved where the teachers don't involve, and there is a system where the students themselves negotiate after a fight is done. So there are many mechanisms like that is already evolved. So it gives two good outcomes. One is you are teaching the students how to take control, because see, the basic idea is this: if you can create a problem, you can resolve it too. See, you don't need the help of another person to come and resolve it. You are the person who has created it. Then you should be the person who should resolve it.
It's about taking the ownership.
Yes.
So that brings it to the international level, from our level. Can you share us an example where you were involved in the mediation of some international conflict and how impactful your mediation was? Was it impactful?
See, every mediation is actually a lesson, because no mediation is identical. No human being is identical. So you can't expect that, see, suppose there is a dispute like this. No, I have done a mediation like this before, so I will repeat it again. It will never happen, because every individual, every dispute has its own flavor. Because see, I remember there was a great mediator, because of course we did some co-mediations earlier. His name is Michael Leeds. He's no more now. See, he was one of the leading lawyers in Italy, and one of the costliest corporate lawyer. And he turned to mediation around, I think, 20 years back. And I had co-mediation with him a couple of times. So even the biggest of disputes, biggest of disputants, see, what the tactics that we used to do is we used to have suppose the mediation is fixed tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We'll tell the parties, and suppose they are lawyers also, we'll tell them that we'll be having a dinner on the previous night. And we make it sure that we'll tell them that, see, this is a very casual dinner. It's only to know all of us. So there will be no discussion at all about the dispute. There will be absolutely no discussion. That makes it immediately that the lawyers will sit together, because there's nothing to discuss, and lawyers have no dispute within each other. They will be friends. So in the dinner table, naturally, after a few moments, the lawyers will sit together and they will start talking. And the disputants also will start sitting together. And after maybe 2 hours, see, dinner normally goes 3 hours, so it will be a long time. So they will automatically, their egos, all those things will wipe out. So we had a dispute, where there was a corporate dispute that was going on for almost 15 years. There were litigations going on in 8 countries. And there was a situation where these two people will never meet. And originally this was a family business where many of them had interactions with the family. And two of the directors were connected by marriage also. So it was a very complicated thing, and it was going on for almost 15 years. And in this meeting, we could not only resolve this dispute, we could connect with the family members. We had a reunion, and it could solve almost disputes, not in 8 countries, means it already had about 30 or 35 cases pending in different 8 countries. In just about 8 hours, within 8 hours, all these were resolved.
Wow, that's so wonderful. I mean, sometimes it doesn't need, a mediation is not even needed to resolve.
No, actually, see, many times we think that what was our role in this? Because we just asked the parties to come, we had a get together, we were paid, and their dispute is resolved. So many times we feel that what is the relevance of our presence here? But of course, there should be somebody there.
That brings me to the last and the most important question. So you are sitting in a room full of future diplomats and change makers. What's one message you want every young delegate at MUNIC to remember with your experiences?
The perception of justice from a third person's view may not be always correct. It could be wrong, because that is why mediation, or you said about what is the message. See, the message is very simple. As I said earlier, if you can make a dispute, you can resolve it. That is one thing. Second one is, see, whatever you do or whatever you say, suppose you are proposing some new concept, or you are telling about a new product, or you are telling about something that you feel that others will feel that you are proposing something very good. See, all these things are pretty good in the sense that can happen, or that power to convince people, or the way in which you tell the people, or the way in which you do things. What should be the first thing that you should do before telling others that this is something good, or this is something that I've invented, or this is something that I propose? What is the first thing that you should do? Suppose I'm telling about negotiation, or I'm telling about mediation. I'm mediating people who have disputes. I'm teaching people how to mediate or how to negotiate. But suppose when I have a dispute, suppose I fight with them and I go to court. Does it look good? Does it? So first thing that you should do when you put forward some vision is you should believe in it. Unless you believe in it, you will never able to convince others to believe in it. That is the first thing. Second thing is, whatever you do, see, practice makes things perfect. So even when you see people fighting, they are experts in it because they have practiced it. Because they are keeping on finding fault of others, they are keeping on fighting, and they have now practiced themselves to make a good fighter. So whatever you do, first believe in yourself, believe in that thing that you are saying. Second, practice to make it perfect. And the third most important thing is, do it with passion. In the sense, nothing that you do mechanically will give you satisfaction. So whatever you do it with passion, so that you don't feel like you are working. You are just promoting your passion. You are promoting your your hobby, something like that. Yeah. So all the best for you for your future in dispute resolution, in peacemaking, in harmony, all those things. So maybe I can ask one more question.
Yes. In fact, I was going to open the floor for them to ask you any questions.
Yeah, with that I can connect it.
Yes, because they may not get to you again, and if they have any future plans around law and mediation, and
anyone has plans to join law?
Into law, this is the right time to explore the field.
Okay.
And
any questions?
Sir, what is an advice that you will give to your younger self being successful? This is my dream to become like you, like sit there and talk to so many people. So what is an advice that you will give?
Come right now, you can have your dream come true.
Not like that. Like being a diplomat, being a part of solving disputes, something like that. So what is an advice that you will give to your younger self?
See, basically, follow your mind, follow your passion, go where destiny takes you. It is not that, see, you have to become a doctor to heal people. See, if you have a passion to heal people, you can be a lawyer and heal people. There's no problem. Because healing is not about healing physically, it can be healing mentally. So any profession, you can say, be in any profession, there's no problem. But do it passionately so that it can benefit humankind at large. So that gives you happiness.
Sir, so when you have to do mediation, you hear both the sides, no? So then...
There's a difference. It is not hearing, it is listening.
So when you listen, you also have like a view, no? So how, if that might be with like one of them, or it might be like in between. So if you have a view that is like not exactly in the middle, or maybe with someone else, so how do you make people to come to that view? And then if you have a view that's with them, one of them, then how will you make the other person?
First of all, in mediation, the mediator will never ask the parties to come to our view, because that means you are adjudicating things. Because see, in any dispute, definitely you will have a view. That's correct, because you think that this person is correct and this person is wrong. But you should understand that the owner of that dispute is that person. See, he may not tell everything to you. See, there's something called loss of communication. So it's like transmission of electricity. You see, through the wire, something can come. So you may not know what entirely his problem is. The only person who knows the entire problem is that person. So you cannot make a decision saying that he's wrong and I should nudge him towards my view. That's not possible. But definitely the resolution can happen between the parties in a view that is not acceptable to you. That is your problem. But you don't want that, because ultimately the parties have to decide on what they need. We should not be asking them to settle or resolve something according to your norms. But this is a very difficult thing to do, because normally, as Jay also knows, because in mediation, we'll be under tremendous stress, because see, we think that this person is right, but things are moving towards that direction and people are agreeing to that. So we feel a lot of pressure inside us, and sometimes see, especially in some family disputes, we find that the dispute is so irrational. See, how can people fight in these type of things? So what we do is we'll take a break, we'll go to our room, either shout or laugh and come back and again sit very calmly and before them. Because see, we are also human beings, we also have emotions. So we can't show that. Suppose somebody is saying something which we feel is very irrelevant. We can't stop them. We can't show a feeling of irritation to them. So we, as a mediator, you always have to be very pleasant, very straight. You can't lean to a person. You can't lean to one side, because that shows a little bit of partiality to one side. So the body language is very important. Your tone is very important. See, when you go to higher levels of mediation, even the color of the room is very important. The perfume that you put on the room freshener is very important, because some people will have a disliking to that odor, color. So you have to look into it, and even see what you serve. See, suppose two persons are fighting very hard. You don't offer them coffee, because caffeine will stimulate adrenaline, and they will fight much harder. So you have to bring that adrenaline level a little down. So you may give them lime juice or something which will release oxytocin. So see, it's a wholesome. It's not about conversation. It's about wholesome, scientific arrangement about the background, about the perfume, about the color, about the direction. See, sometimes suppose this ball is not there and it's open windows. See, many times people will lose or get distracted because of the outside view. So based on the dispute, you may have a close arrangement. Suppose it's a place where you have to release pressure, you may open the windows. So there's a lot of scientific principles that's involved in a professional negotiation. So your feeling or your norms doesn't apply there. You are just sitting there to facilitate two people to come to a resolution.
Yes, sir. The most common debate that is happening in and around here regarding the law is regarding punishment and rehabilitation. So even if you take our national law, the deterrent theory encourages punishment, while the retributive theory calls for an eye for an eye concept. So how do you draw a midline between this, whether punishment should be encouraged or rehabilitation should be encouraged?
See, a lot of researches are going on in criminal. See, we are talking about criminal jurisdiction. So, see, normally criminal cases are not amenable for mediation. That is the law that we have in India now. But there is a lot of debate that is going on for including mediation into criminal aspects also. Because in many cases, for example, like a small case like assault. For example, somebody has beaten you. See, the moment you file a criminal case or a FIR, then police takes it over. And then there is a criminal case going on. And When police makes a charge, then you are out of the picture. See, one of the very strange situation in our criminal law is the affected person is not there in the picture, because the police or the state is on one side and the accused is on one side. The person who's aggrieved is outside the system. See, in many cases, suppose this person who has beaten that person tells him sorry. Maybe the aggrieved person is happy with that, rather than punishing that person. So reforms are being talked about as to how mediation or integrative justice could be brought in, where the aggrieved person also has a role in the criminal jurisdiction. So right now we don't have, but definitely, because now the mediation law is made in 2023, but it's not yet notified. That law also brings in little bit of criminal matters into mediation, so that you can mediate those type of matters.
Hi sir, my name is Niranjana. So the question that I wanted to ask is based on my personal experience in school. So there's obviously a lot of arguments that happen in our class. So if we try to start negotiating, I feel like I have a confusion whether to approach the argument in a critical way or in, emotionally charged or empathetic way. And another thing that I've noticed is the people on the side that starts shouting and have a lot of supporters, they end up starting a shouting match and they obviously win the argument in school, rather than people, opting for a more peaceful approach. So I have a confusion with how to approach arguments like that.
And that's why I said in many countries, in schools, there are certain principles that are now put in. For example, if there is a dispute between friends or between students, so there is a standing instruction that once the dispute starts, you wait for 24 hours. There will be no talk, there will be no fight, nothing for 24 hours. The talk will resume only after 24 hours. So by that time, probably the dispute is solved. That is one thing. Secondly, see, there is something, have you heard about the word amygdala?
Yeah.
So amygdala is behind the, back of the brain, which controls emotions. And see, the moment there is a trigger of a fight, or whenever you are emotionally attacked, amygdala is hijacked. In the sense, it takes only 1/100th of a second for amygdala to get affected. And the moment amygdala is hijacked or the amygdala is affected, then you don't have reasons. You don't have logic. That is why the same thing happens when you are drunk. That is why people say when you are drunk you shouldn't drive, because you can't evaluate things, because the amygdala is not working. Similarly, when you get into an argument, your logic is lost. See, that is why even when there is a strong argument going on, suppose one third person comes and tells something which is very, very logical and it's very attractive to that person, he will not accept it, because his amygdala is not working. And do you know how much time does it take for the amygdala to regain? It takes a minimum of 20 minutes, provided no further provocation happens. So naturally, when there is a fight, for the next almost 30 minutes, your brain is not working. So whatever good things are told to you, you will not accept, because your amygdala is hijacked. So neurologically, no resolution can happen in a fight within 20 minutes, because the brain is not working properly. So that is why in many schools there is a standing instruction to resume after, whenever there is a fight, there is a pause, there is a freezing. You can only talk about it after 24 hours. So by that time, things normally will get resolved, or people will not get into more intense fight. So this you should understand, because even in courts, when lawyers fight with judges, the next lawyer takes an adjournment, because the judge is going to deal with this matter within 20 minutes, when his amygdala is hijacked, and he will not give a proper decision for my case, which is the next case. I have not fought with the judge. The earlier lawyer must have fought with the judge, but I will take an adjournment, because I know that judge's brain is hijacked. So the 20 minutes is a very crucial period.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, sorry. I actually have two questions. The first is, where do you draw the line in going for mediation or negotiation or going to court or like taking a further step? Where do you draw the line? And the second is, in a world that is increasingly talking with actions rather than words, is there a future for studies like peace studies, etc., for students pursuing them? Is there a proper career or is there a future for a student pursuing such degrees?
So it's a good question. See, in Stone Age, when dispute happened, what happened? People used to fight. They used to take sword, they will fight, and the mighty will win. See, then when culture progressed, the fighting in between stopped, and they will go to a king. And the king will give a decision that this is to be done. Then when more sophistication happened in culture, instead of king, they replace it with the judge. And the judge will give a decision. Then even when people thought, see, that has not become, that is not in fashion, people started appointing their own private judges who are called as arbitrators. So people appointed their own people as judges and they will decide. See, when culture evolved, empowerment started. See, people started getting more and more empowered. And then people started using mediation where they retain the power within themselves rather than taking a decision from another person. So naturally, if you look at the graph of culture, it is from a primitive, imposed decision-making process where third person used to impose decisions on you, thinking that you, the people who are fighting, do not have the maturity, do not have the empowerment to decide that dispute, so we will decide it for you. So that means there is a hierarchy. People with more intellect who will decide for you, and people with less intellect will accept it. So now when the culture changed or started improving, people understood that we are empowered. That's why I said, if we are able to make a dispute, we can take control over it. So if you look at more mature societies, then in those, see, if you look at even mediation as a formal mechanism of dispute resolution, it is successful in countries where the people are more mature, more culturally superior. So if the people are not culturally superior, in fact, in one conference where this general counsels, you know general counsels, that is the lawyers of the companies. See, I told because the directors of the companies and the general counsels were present, I told the companies, if you don't have the capacity to take control over your disputes, never go for mediation because it's a waste of time. You give it to somebody else who can decide the disputes for you, either the courts or the arbitrators. See, then after my session was over, during the coffee break, all the directors got hold of their general counsels and said, why don't you take control of your disputes? Because if you can take control of your disputes, see, who else can give you a better solution than yourself? See, I know what I want. So I will look for a resolution which is more suitable to me rather than to them. Coming to that, the early story that I wanted to tell, I will tell here. See, two children were in a house. They were having a dispute. The dispute, some of you must have heard the story, because the boy and the girl, the boy was younger and the girl was about 8 years. See, both of them wanted orange. And there was only one orange in the fridge. And both of them said, I want orange. And the father was busy with his work. What he did is he immediately opened the fridge, took the orange, cut it into two and gave it to them. See, this is something called equitable distribution. By way of justice, that was perfect, because even if you go to court, let us assume that this orange was the assets of the family. Both the children got equal share, correctly distributed, everything was correct. But the children continued crying. So the scene is changed now. Instead of father, the mother comes there. So mother saw the children crying. She immediately called the children, why, what is happening here? So they said, we want the orange. So the mother took both the children, hugged them and said, don't worry, I am here. I'll take control. So she said, there is one orange, what's the problem? No, I want that orange. Then the mother said, asked the child, why do you need the orange? Then the boy said, I want to make orange juice. She asked the girl, why do you need the orange? She said, I want to bake a cake. I want the peel of the orange. Naturally, the dispute is resolved. The boy is given the fruit and the girl is given the pea. So the thing is, only if you understand the real reason of the problem, you can deliver the solution. But if you think that I don't need to ask them, rather I will decide based on the facts, based on the law, then it will be like dividing without understanding what is the need. So need and law are totally different. So need you can satisfy only by of communication, by conversation. And what I feel is that would be the future if proper leadership comes or takes control of the nations. Then naturally that is the future.
Yeah, with that, we have
And actually, when we see this is actually used in courts. And we used to make fun of this, saying that if hammer is the only tool that you have, every problem seems to be a nail. And it was a pleasure talking to you because, see, it's like charging your mobile or charging your battery. Because when we get, fed up with the regular routine, we get charged up by meeting youngsters like you. And I hope, and we look forward to the younger generation to be the next, hope. Thank you.
Thank you.